Hey Toy fans, Rob here. I've just completed my superhero spring cleaning and I want to go ahead and share my 2020 collection with you guys. Word of note before we get started, I do want to keep this video intended for the adult collector audience so we can actually interact with each other in the comments. So if you're younger than 13 and watching this video is not for you guys. I'm sorry. Come back when you're older. But for those of you out there who are collectors like me, who've been doing this for a long time, I want you to go ahead and enjoy what I have to offer. If you guys have any questions, leave a comment below. I'll try to answer as many as I can. And hopefully YouTube won't sabotage us in that respect. But without further ado, thanks for watching, guys, and here we go. Alright, toy fans, now here we go. If you have seen my collection videos before, you may remember that I have a Juggernaut collection. That's just moved off to the side here. Here are all the Juggernaut figures I have. I wish I had a Black Tom for every one of them, and I don't know where I'm going to put the Marvel Legends Black Tom as soon as he releases. We'll have to figure that out later this year, but there they are, and there are my X-Men Evolution figures. As we come across, we're going to see those Star Trek mini-mates I'm so fond of, and then let's start at the top of this shelf. A lot of this is stuff you've seen before, and not any of it is probably Marvel Legends, except for that signed Ghost Rider in the back. Just a bunch of fun little things here. If you guys have any questions, you can ask me in the comments. I'll try to make sure YouTube doesn't turn the comments off on this video. But then we have the X-Men. And what I was trying to go for here was kind of an X-Men through the years. So as we come over to the left, you're going to see we have the 1970s era of the team. I have a gap, as you see off here to the left, for Storm when she releases, hopefully this year. But otherwise, we've got Nightcrawler, Wolverine, Cyclops, Colossus, Sunfire, Jean, and Banshee that badly needs an update, and then the Build-A-Figure Sentinel in the back, because that's one of the most classic X-Men villains I've got, at least Build-A-Figure wise. And we move across, you'll see we've got the 80s era Outback X-Men. In the back, I'm cheating a little bit, I've got a Diamond Select Colossus. Normally I don't like posing him with my Marvel Legends because he's just way too big, but I've hunkered him down and you can take off his shoulder armor, and he looks like a pretty convincing 80s era Colossus figure. I'd like to see Hasbro give us one, but this will do for now. And I've got so many X-Men villains that I went ahead and put the Reavers in the back because they really are kind of tied to the history of this particular incarnation of the team. As we move to the right, you'll see I tried to move sort of to the late 80s era, kind of like the Outback figures. We have the New Mutants. Now granted, this is the costumes they were wearing around the time of Second Coming, but you know, they originated in the late 80s. And we have as much of X-Factor as I can build out right now. I've got Cyclops, I've got Iceman, that's the old Toy Biz Archangel in the back. He doesn't have his wings because he's impossible to stand with them on. But you know, Hasbro, if you want to give us an X-Factor Jean Grey and X-Factor Beast, I'd be okay with it. And then we have, of course, Apocalypse, who's so integral to the origins of that version of the X-Factor team. And as we come down, you'll see we have kind of some 90s figures mixed in with some more modern ones, but off to the left here we have 90s X-Force. Now granted, Deadpool wasn't a member, but this is also kind of just a collection of Liefeld characters, so I felt like 90s Deadpool kind of belonged over here. I will be adding I'll be adding Warpath and Sunspot to this team later this year. As we come across, you'll see we have 90s X-Factor. I've got jacketed Cyclops over here because I didn't want to not have him on display, and he's kind of holding a spot for Wolvesbane if she ever gets announced. So then, of course, I will make sure to add Strong Guy to this collection later this year as well. Off to the right, we've got X-Force, the third incarnation of the team, and fourth, I suppose. There's kind of an invisible line down the middle there. I have Warpath and Domino and X-23 and Archangel more to the left. I've got the second version, Uncanny X-Force, off to the right with Psylocke and Deadpool and Phantom X and Deathlock. So, coming back, you'll see we have another era of X-Men down below. Off to the left, we've got the Utopia era heroes. I look forward to adding that Rogue that's supposed to be coming this year to this display. She was running an X-Men Legacy around the same time as the Utopia stories. Might have been a little bit before, I'd have to double check the years, but I think she'll look pretty nice over there. And then we've got Bendis's, I don't know, evil or renegade X-Men team. We've got Cyclops and the Cuckoos and Magic and Emma Frost. That X on the back, I've had that for years. That came attached to a movie Professor X figure. And I've always just kind of kept it around as sort of like an X-Men logo that I can hang up. To the right, you see we do have the Age of Apocalypse figures. I really like how these guys came out. Now granted, I've got villains intermixed with heroes. That's just how I chose to set it up. But it's coming along. Once we get our inevitable wave 2, I'm not sure I'm going to fit everyone in here. In the back, you'll see Sugar Man set up. I don't know if it's just me or if you guys are having the same trouble, but my Sugar Man seems to fall under his own weight. His knees keep bending on him. I don't know. I kind of wish they would put ratchets in that, but for right now, he seems pretty stable in the back. And then coming down, we've just got a whole smattering of Avengers. In the front, pretty much if you focus on these guys, we've got the founding Avengers, even though Cap wasn't really there for the very beginning, but Hulk and Iron Man. And if you look in between Iron Man and Cap, you'll see a very tiny Ant-Man. That's part of a Diamond Select display base for Black Widow, but I like having it there since it's a tiny Ant-Man. And then we have Wasp and Thor, and then coming over, we've got some more, not founding members, but definitely classic with Vision and Scarlet Witch. And then the first row behind these guys are kind of ancillary members that came in through the 70s and 80s and even into the 90s a little bit. And then if we go off here, these back 2 rows, those are Captain or Commander Steve Rogers' Secret Avengers. I was a big fan of that run, so I wanted to represent those guys. And as we move over to the left, you'll see we've got the Remender era Uncanny Avengers, at least the way they ended before he just suddenly left the book. And then in the back, of course, we've got the Dark Avengers. So I like having all of those guys represented. We'll pull back a little bit and then come to the middle display, and you'll see I've got a few things going on here. It's kind of divided into 3 sections. Off to the left, primarily what I'm looking at here is the animated Iron Man series heroes from the 90s show. That was my favorite cartoon for a long time, along with X-Men and Spider-Man, but I really like the Iron Man cartoon, no matter how bad it was when I was a kid. So I have Spider-Woman and Hawkeye and Modular Iron Man and Scarlet Witch and War Machine, and I will be replacing that one later this year. And then as we come across, you'll see we have the Fantastic Four. Got Namor in there and Silver Surfer. I've added Franklin. And then I decided to go ahead and put Super Skrull and Doom with these guys. I thought that kind of worked out nicely. And then as we come across, you're going to see my Marvel Knights display that's kind of spilled out into a few different things. But I just wanted to have all the street level heroes really represented. So that's what I chose to do there. And as we come down, I'm really happy with how this shelf came out. Looks like my moon has kind of sagged a little bit. I should have fixed that before I started filming. That's just the interior of the Love Triangle 3-pack, if I remember correctly. If it's not that, then it's Professor X, but I think it's the Love Triangle 3-pack. But I wanted to have sort of a moon design behind Wolverine. You'll see these are all characters that directly relate to Wolverine. Off to the left, we have his kin. We've got Laura Kinney and Daken, along with that Series 3 Marvel Legends Wolverine display base. I look forward to getting some some Hellfire goons and using that display base with some Hellfire goons. I think that'll be kind of fun. Got Deathstrike on the Weapon X chamber back there. She's got ties to that program, and Wolverine, obviously. Silver Samurai's in the back. Then, of course, I have Hulk and Sasquatch because, you know, that ties into Wolverine's first appearance. And then we have Alpha Flight in the back. That's as much of the team as I've got. I don't know if I'll be able to afford that box set, but they're definitely part of Wolverine's past, and of course Sabretooth's there. But one thing I tried to do with my Wolverine display here was kind of show Wolverine through the years. So you'll notice we have Logan, and I've intentionally, or probably James Howlett if you want to call it that, I've intentionally taken the claw hands off, so he's just a dude on a bike, and then he goes to the Weapon X program, then he becomes first appearance Wolverine, then he becomes giant-sized 70s era Wolverine, and then of course he adopted this black patch outfit in the 80s, and then in the 90s, he wore the yellow. Granted, he was brown before he was yellow, but I wanted the most classic representation of Wolverine in the center. And then we have the brown suit Wolverine, then we have the mid to late 90s Savage Wolverine, kind of. It's not quite how he looked then, but he's got the bone claws. And then I decided to do Wolverine as he got older, or Logan as he got older. So we have younger Logan, and then Days of Future Past Logan, and then Old Man Logan. And I know those are all 3 distinct timelines, but I just kind of like showing the progression of age. So we're gonna back out from there. I have a couple figures down below. They're not Marvel Legends related though. And then we're gonna come up to the top over here, and you will see my Marvel Legends villains. Not all of the villains I have, but as many as I could fit up here safely. I've got the Hydra soldiers here on the side mixed in with the Serpent Society. And I look forward to getting more members of those guys whenever we get them. Surely we will. Viper's behind them, but she also kind of ties in with Hydra. And then I've got Arno Zola. In the back, I've got the Asgardian villains. I never got that SDCC Asgard box set, so that's all I got. And then coming down in front, Claw and Ultron, but then in the middle we've got the classic 90s animated Iron Man series villains with Blizzard and Dread Knight and Gargoyle, Grey Gargoyle, and Whirlwind and Living Laser. And then in the back, tried to give some representation to these Civil War era Thunderbolts. I do not have a Mac Gargan Venom, unfortunately, so I'm cheating with the Superior Venom. And then as we come to the right, we got a couple of Iron Man villains, Titanium Man and Ironmonger. And then I wanted some Hulk villain representation, so there we have Abomination, Absorbing Man, not the Thinker, my goodness, the Leader, and Red Hulk. I am waiting for this Abomination figure to be repurposed as Chode from the Starjammers. If you pay attention to the mold, they obviously had those plans when they built him, and then it never happened. Why? I don't know. But I would really like to see the Starjammers finally get made from Hasbro. Hopefully we get it. Hopefully it's not a box set. I'm willing to wait to have them release one figure a wave if that's how they want to do it with regular X-Men waves. And then I backtracked the Leaper here just because I wanted to put them up there. Okay, so if you guys have seen my collections before, you're probably familiar with this shelf. This is the Villains versus the Heroes, an X-Men shelf inspired by the 90s animated series intro. On the left-hand side, of course, we've got tons of villains, but newer additions include Shadow King. I finally put Pyro up here. I don't know why I didn't have him as part of this the whole time, but I'm kind of glad that I got him holding the Dark Phoenix effect bird, because Pyro would regularly make constructs like that with his flame, so I thought that worked out pretty well. But you can see all of these great villains here. Gladiators, kind of stealing some focus off of them. But then as we move in, I also like that I've got Sinister and Cyclops staring each other down here. But then we have the 90s era X-Men, and it's not specifically supposed to be the animated series, it's just supposed to be 90s era characters. And then as we come down, you'll see the Spider-Man shelf. This is also one that probably hasn't changed too much since the last time you guys watched a video of my collection. I'm pretty sure Hydro Man and Silver Sable and Puma and actually that Vulture are probably all new. And as we move across, you see some other Spider-Man characters represented. We've got the Goblins in the back. I look forward to replacing Green Goblin with the new one as soon as I can. And there we go. I also look forward to getting a new Jonah. As soon as I have a new Jonah, I'm going to take that body and put the Norman Osborn head on that suit, because that looks just like Thunderbolt's Norman Osborn once you put the Osborn head on it. I'm pretty sure he wore that exact colored suit regularly. And then coming down, we've got the Marvel Cosmic / Spider-Verse shelf. So we've got a lot of stuff going on here, but I do have the modern Fantastic Four in the back. And we have Nick Fury up front, and Darkhawk, and Shuri. I really like how this X-Men Deadpool pairs up with Black Widow's motorcycle, so I regularly pair those two. And then of course, the Captain Marvels, and we have the Guardians of the Galaxy, and Odin's kind of in there in the back. I didn't have anywhere else to put him. Then we have the Novas, Terrax, one of the most underrated Build-A-Figures ever released by Hasbro, and one of my top favorite Build-A-Figures ever released. And then just a bunch of Spider-Verse characters. Sorry, I could be naming all of these, but that'll just make the video longer. If you have any questions, again, leave a comment. I'll be happy to help you figure out who someone is. And then we have just some assorted Marvel characters over here. We have Deathlock and Nighthawk and Blade. They're not really part of Spider-Verse, not really part of the cosmic scene, but I wanted to have them up here. So there they are. And then down below, we've got just some other collections of characters. These are all Marvel Legends that I've gotten from some dear friends that I met via YouTube, and you guys know who you are. But I definitely wanted to have those guys all posed together because those are probably my most sentimental Legends figures that I own. And then we have, I was a really big fan of Marvel Netflix. I don't collect MCU figures anymore. Not that these guys were ever really part of the MCU, but I wanted to have some representation there because I just really liked those shows, and I'm sad that they ended the way they did. And then Mysterio is probably my favorite Spider-Man villain, so I threw him in there as well. And then those obviously aren't Marvel Legends. I would have collected more Lightning Collection figures, but there's so many Legends coming out, especially last year and this year with the X-Men. I wanted to do something with Bucky Cap. I couldn't find a natural spot for him anywhere else, so he's stuck down here with Ultimate Vulture and the Hulkbuster Build-A-Figure. And as we come right, you'll see my little mini Hall of Armor. In the back, I've got the Diamond Select Hulkbuster, which I still think is the best version of the Hulkbuster we have in a 6-inch scale. I would love to see Hasbro try, but Diamond gave us a nice one with some metallic paint, so that works for me. And then just some various Iron Mans, of course, Bleeding Edge and Extremis. And then the only MCU figures I still have besides the Netflix ones are all of the Iron Man armors I collected and all of the War Machines I collected, so have some of those represented there as well. This figure is obviously the Epic Heroes Wave Neo-Classic armor, but I've put the Iron Man 1 movie Tony Stark head on this body. I think it kind of fits. That body's kind of small, that head's kind of small, so they kind of paired up pretty well together. So I like having those positioned like that. So that, guys, is my current collection. I mean, I've got probably 20 to, well, probably more like 40 to 50 figures in storage that I just couldn't find a place for, but this is the way I've chosen to represent my heroes. I like having the X-Men through the ages on the right, and then kind of representing the rest of Marvel off to the right, or excuse me, I like having the X-Men through the years on the left, and having the rest of Marvel kind of represented on the right and towards the center. So if you guys have a favorite, let me know. If you have any ideas for displays, let me know. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.